All right, Pastor Flowers. We're 2 seconds on live now.
2 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, just arrived. Gosh, it seemed like it's been a while, but it's only been what 2 weeks. We missed last week.
Yeah, we missed last week.
And stuff. But we're glad to be on here. Just waiting for others to catch up. I've been looking to my left and
I'll be looking to my right.
So, but not trying to look away from each other. She's Pastor Flowers got the stuff that we'll be dealing with. And over here we got the other computer, so we'll monitor if there's any questions that may
So if our eyes are shifting, it's because we're watching different things.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to welcome you here. Waiting for some to be joined for some to come on. Amen. God bless you. Praise God. Yeah, thank you for joining us. Amen. Amen. Waiting for a few more. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm kind of excited about the subject on tonight. We were going to deal with this subject at another on another teaching. Something came up and we weren't able to. God bless you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We weren't able to. Brother Jeremy, how you doing? Weren't able to get to it, but we're going to talk about it because I think it's a subject that that I think is needed and necessary, not just for marriages, but it is directly dealing with marriages, but it's for any kind of development relationship.
Yeah, any kind of relationship.
Because
this can be cross the board.
Absolutely, because we need to know what we're dealing with and how we're dealing with ourselves.
And we don't wait to get into marriage to start knowing how to deal with relationships.
Absolutely. And we don't need to wait until we get married to know if we're in love and how to
deal
deal with love and stuff. But one of the subjects we're going to deal with some questions that was kind of thrown at us that we didn't get a chance to answer, but we want to throw those kind of questions and want to deal with some languages because the church world and society set up itself and everybody's writing books. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. And they're coming up with these kind of cliches that if you look at it, sometimes it doesn't fit because it doesn't answer what's need to be answered. And doesn't bring us to a place of maturity and development in a relationship. It's nothing wrong with cliches, and some of these things have its place, but where we have problems
but do they have power?
Right.
But just because it rhymes, it's a cliche, it is accepted.
Right.
It sounds good, but does it have the power to do what you needed to do for you?
But the problem I think it has is where it doesn't fit when you blanket it. When you make a statement and it sounds good and you blanket it. You try to make it fit into everything. And whenever it's a situation or a challenge comes up in a relationship, they come up with this cliche and they think it fits everything. And it doesn't. And that's why we have to be flexible and know that when we're dealing with individuals, that we're dealing with, we're dealing with individuals, we're dealing with unique relationships. Everybody's problem that may sound the same, look the same, and even explain the same may not be responded to or dealt with or can be dealt with or responded to the same way in all relationships.
In all relationships,
and stuff. So that's why it's important to, these cliches are nice, these nice sayings are good, and they fit for a while and they get you thinking for a while. And sometimes we need to realize that when we got past the thinking and they're no longer effective or good for the relationship, it's time to move on and deal with things that we need to deal with it. Amen.
Amen. God bless you.
Thank you. Amen. So we just, again, let's get into the subject. I was trying to read if there was a question that a brother joined me.
He said he loved to teach.
Oh, amen. Thank you, my brother.
Yes.
There's a cliche. It kind of went out, and the question was asked and stuff, and we'll get an opportunity. We pray that we'll get a chance to get on that program at a later time. Something came up, and that's no problem and stuff. But the question was asked or posed to us about the 5 love languages, and one of the things that we dealt with, and my wife and I started talking about it was, and she brought the question to me. She said, "Well, how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about these, the subject of 5 love languages?" And I said to her, and I was, as I was dealing with it and putting it down as the Lord was giving it to me, and y'all, please don't misunderstand me. And and let me make this very clear. There are some things, like when you talk about love languages, or when you talk about think like a man, or whatever you want to use, there are sometimes these things may fit, but you have to give some definition to these things. Yes, some discerning and some definition. For instance, you can't just think like a man if you're talking about that she needs to withdraw who she is, and she can't, from a woman perspective, try to understand what his thinking is, but you just want her to just join into his mindset, and she loses her identity and her thoughts and stuff. That's not fair to her. So that's why hey Tony, let's bring some identity to it. It's nothing wrong with trying to understand not just how the man thinks, but you got to understand how she thinks too. Because if it's just his thinking that's going to dominate or dictate where the relationship goes at, it's going to be one-sided.
It's going to be one-sided.
And she's going to lose her identity.
And somebody's not going to get fulfilled.
Absolutely. So those kind of cliches, wherever they fit And if they can bring you to a place of at least reasoning and thinking and solving a problem, that's no problem. But make sure that when you use these cliches and you throw them into a relationship, make sure they can be applicable.
Make sure it's, yep,
You know.
it apply.
Now, Pastor Flowers, let me just say this before we get into the languages that we're talking about here. Is, it wouldn't be fair if I threw a blanket cliche at a man that's, and I'm going to use it both sides. And I say to this woman, and I'm just kind of going off of this subject here, a man who has no open-mindedness. He's stubborn in his thinking. He's a dictator, matter of fact. He's not going to listen to what she has to say. Matter of fact, when she tries to explain, he shuts down, not just by his ears, but he shuts down emotionally. He shuts down mentally. And he's already docked his ship where he wants to conclude it. And so you throw this blanket, she comes in and she complains and she says, and I don't mean that sarcastically, she comes in, she says, well, you know, my husband, he just doesn't want to seem to reason with me. He doesn't want to talk to me and stuff. And I say to her, and I want you to answer this, and I say to her, now based on what I said, the premise that I said, you got to think like him.
Okay.
You got to think like him. Now, what position does that put her in? Now, he won't think nothing about, he won't think like her. That's not even the problem. He won't think about her. He won't take into consideration anything that she's saying. But I say to her, and I wouldn't say that, but I'm just throwing this out here. And I say to her, think like him.
Think like him.
Think like this man.
Sometimes you don't know how he's thinking.
Right.
And sometimes that's what causes the problem. You don't know how he's thinking. You don't know what he's thinking. You don't know what's going on with him. It's like a door that you're trying to get into. So how can you think like him if you're not on the same page with him, if you don't know where he's coming from, you don't know where the attitude is coming from, so you're trying to minister to him according to what he's thinking. Absolutely. When you don't even know what he's thinking.
Absolutely. The problem is, I think, Hun, sometimes is that when we do these things, these cliches, and just leave them at cliches and don't expand them so they can be beneficial for both people, somebody's going to get left out and somebody's going to get hurt in the process, because all you're doing is, and this, if relationships are ever going to be beneficial, we don't need compromise. That's one thing we've already thought. We don't need compromise. We need the collaboration. That means everybody got to put something in it so everybody can get something from it.
You know, I think we all have our way of thinking. I can understand ministering to your husband. I can understand trying to get to know, him, as well as him trying to get to know you. But when you suspend your thinking in order to so-called enhance your relationship, you are going to eventually end up on the loss.
Absolutely.
You know, I believe God gave us both our abilities to think, to make us a better person, you know. But if we're both thinking like the one, or, you know, in one way, how are you going to get the whole?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that has to happen is that we saw someone said, you know, that's me. Sometimes, that situation I'm in. And we've talked about this before. When you have a situation where a husband or a wife seems to always want to dominate the emotional atmosphere of the relationship, meaning they'll close you out if it's not on their not on their dime, if it's not what they want to think. One of the things you cannot do is
my sister's wife.
Oh, praise God. Good to see you, sister-in-law. Listen, one thing you cannot do is allow them to remain there.
Yeah.
And one thing you cannot do is to make them push you into arguing about what you feel.
That's right.
You present what you feel. You bring them to a place, and you may not be able to at first, but you have to at least present them to a place of understanding. Do you know where you're leaving me at when I'm trying to express to you how I feel, and you act like my feelings are not any, you don't have any feelings or any concern about my feelings and stuff, and then they may retort back to you with something that would normally start an argument. You don't argue with them. You don't begin an argument because you want reasoning. And when you start arguing, the only thing that happens is that now I prove my point. See, that's why I don't talk to you, because every time I try to talk to you, or I try to say this to you, first thing happens is you want to argue. Don't let them bring you to a point where you stop presenting your feelings and you start arguing about your feelings. Because when you start arguing about your feelings and you start debating with them about it, then they have an excuse to go into emotional seclusion and stop respecting or listening to what you're saying. So the problem is that sometimes and you said it, you can't always know a person's thoughts, feelings, or emotional presentation through their words if they never give it to you.
If they never give it to you.
And you can't just give the ship over to them when they're not stirring right. Sometimes you got to just be able to present, and it's the key point. The key point is don't argue your feelings. You know what they are,
You know what
and
they
you
are.
know you may deal with a person that may may go into seclusion because they may not be ready at that time to be emotionally responsible for their part in dealing with you. So you don't argue with them to give them a reason to go deeper. You just present it to them and leave it with them.
Exactly.
Amen. It's like have ever, and this has probably never happened. If it's ever happened, I don't remember. But have I ever made you upset and stuff?
Have you ever made
Yeah,
you upset?
I know. I do have to think. I know it.
Okay.
Y'all, she's really thinking hard.
Okay.
She really thinking hard. Now, if the question was asked the other way, I probably
Have
say,
you ever made me upset?
Have I ever-
Okay.
Yes. You gotta think. We ain't
No,
got no
I
time
gotta
now.
think.
We ain't got no time. You
I
can't
don't
be.
have to
No,
think. Yes, you made me upset.
Now, think now.
Oh my God.
'Cause we only on here for an hour. Then you want
Oh,
to stay.
Lord.
You're gonna be thinking and thinking.
Yes, you
3 hours
made
down
me
the road, and you
upset.
still ain't
I've
coming with
been
nothing.
upset.
So let's just go on because she's trying to
No,
find. She's trying to think
you
about it.
made me upset.
Huh?
Yes, you made me
Oh
upset.
Lord, I don't remember that.
I think even today
Look, yo,
you
we
made me
gotta
upset.
get it going because But look, have you ever made me? Have I ever made you upset? And I know it's a far stretch. Lord, forgive me for bringing it out because I don't know when. But look, and you had to cook for me
Okay.
and stuff, and you knew you were upset with me, and the reason why you were upset with me because at that point you may not could have gotten what you thought or felt across to me. So you know there's no need bringing it back up again.
Right.
And there was no need at that time to try to bring your point across because at that time there may not have been no desire on my part to be clear about it. So when you brought the plate in, you just brought the plate in, set it down, and walked off. This what this makes the man think. If I'm being hard-headed, if I'm being stubborn, and I'm not listening to her point of view, she's still able to carry on her loving obligations, work or service to me and stuff, and not let it get in the way, because I'm stubborn or because I'm hard-headed. And she just leaves the plate down there. All that good food, that good food, my appetite is there, the food looks good, but I'm starting to think. I'm starting to think about what I said, I'm starting to think about where I left her at, and I'm starting to think about how she left me. And what was it? Not in bad. She didn't leave me in a bad place. She left me in a good place. And that's what I'm talking about sometimes when you're trying to present your feelings and you have someone that's stubborn and seclusive, that close themselves off. You don't argue with them. All you do is give them a reason why they're in seclusion. What you do is you present the plate to them, let them see the good meal that's cooked, and leave it alone. Don't keep arguing, and you keep presenting it. You just keep on presenting it and keep on presenting it. And sooner or later, guess what? That thinking afterwards is going to turn into actions. And before you know, they're going to change the way they respond and handle your opinions and your feelings. And you'll see things turn around. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's the question. It says, so what do you do with a person who gets overwhelmed with situations and goes into a shell?
Well, again, it depends.
They can be one.
Yeah, they can be one too. But it depends on this, I think, Pastor Flowers. If they get overwhelmed because of what they do, only thing you can do is try to be observant as much as you can and try to help them and they may not receive it at first. But if you keep feeding into it, again, it's the same thing about the plate. Then when you see they're at a point that if it's by their doing that they're getting ready to overwhelm themselves, interject a word to them. And they may not receive it at first because they may think they know what they're doing. Only at the end result they realize that they didn't know what they're doing and stuff. And sometimes, and if it's not their own doing, but they haven't learned the ability to organize stuff and to put things in its place, to compartmentalize stuff. Again, that takes you to to interject and stuff. And at first they may not receive it because again they may think they know what they're doing. Anytime as a husband or wife that we get to a place that we let things around us, whatever it is, it's organization, bills, home, emotional stuff, or whatever it is, anytime it gets to a place that overwhelms us, it's because we haven't taken the signs that tells us this is too much, deal with this before you go on.
Exactly.
And stuff. So sometimes they need that inner voice, that plate that sits there and says, okay, you're trying to eat too much, you're trying to eat too in a hurry, you need to slow down and you need to do some things one at a time because you're at a place where you're about to bring yourself out of
And then when they get to the point of being overwhelmed, meaning that they have already gone into the shell, you have to then start to back out of the thing.
Absolutely.
The thing that sent you into that shell, the thing that caused you to be overwhelmed, has to be addressed. It can't be a lump under the rug. Remember we talked one time about all the lumps under the rug. It can't be a lump under the rug. You got to be willing to be able to deal with it. It might be hard conversation, but in order to bring that person out of the shell, or in order for you to come out of the shell, you got to deal with it.
Listen, I'm sorry, was you finished?
Yes, I was.
Listen, on that same subject, sometimes during counseling, when we do counseling, we give homework. We get people to do some things. And I'm gonna tell you a good thing that would help when you got a spouse that gets overwhelmed by certain situations, and they're not noticing that they're getting themselves to a place where they push themselves over. And sometimes what you have to do is, and it's going to take some work on your part to help them, and that means, and again, it may not come overnight, but with the process continue and persistence,
Yes.
they'll turn around. That is, sometimes what you have to do is, when you know that spouse is beginning to work themselves into a frenzy, start taking notes.
Yeah.
Start writing down some stuff. And start taking notes and times and dates and stuff. And then when they get to a point where you realize now they're at that point that they're cocooned because they're overwhelmed themselves, go to them and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Just set the plate down.
Yeah.
Have them to read it.
Yeah.
And then ask them, whenever you're ready to discuss this, so we can get to a place that this doesn't happen again, let's discuss it. And I guarantee you, when they see their progress, when they see the process that they've allowed to happen into their life, that cause them to get to a place where they cocoon and get overwhelmed, when they start to see what they're doing to themselves and how you can help them, over time, I guarantee they'll come around. But sometimes what it takes is, sometimes people need to see what they're doing before they realize what it's actually doing to them and what it's actually doing to to the other one that they're in a relationship with. And so sometimes it's just as easy as sitting down taking notes.
Yeah.
Say, look, he did this or she did this, and usually when they do this happens, and then when that happens, and stuff that happens, and then here we are, end up at a place where they're cocooned because they're so overwhelmed by things that they let get away.
They let it get away, they didn't talk about it.
Absolutely.
And they didn't deal with it.
Absolutely.
And another thing we talk about is when you're dealing with stuff like that, don't go in arguing your point. Your point may be 100%
Absolutely.
correct, but the way you present it can be 200% wrong.
Absolutely.
You don't go in arguing your point, but this, and you might be right.
Absolutely.
But you have to use wisdom, learn how to be able to win somebody back out of a shell, or learning how
Absolutely.
to come out of the shell yourself. You're not going to win me out of the shell by coming at me, arguing at me, because you're going to make me go deeper into the shell, because right away, when you start arguing, I'm going to shut down listening.
Absolutely.
I'm not listening anymore.
Absolutely.
Because now you are coming in, I'm looking at you as an attacker.
Absolutely.
So in order to get me to come out of the shell, in order to you come out of the shell, you got to be able to sit down and listen to reason.
Absolutely.
Listen to fact. You can reason things, you can fact things, but if you got to be the lawyer, well, you shouldn't have did this, well, you shouldn't have did this is why you where you are, this is what, and then shut your own self off too.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes when we're in a shell, you can hear every reason why to stay in that shell. We have to come to the point to find reasons to come out
Most
of that
definitely.
shell.
One of the things also I think we have to consider is that everybody who seems hard shell, every man that seems to go into a cocoon doesn't seem to be resistant to communication. That shell is not as hard as it may seem.
No.
And vice versa, if it's a woman, that shell is not as hard as it seems. But sometimes what it is, it's a tender protection of what they cannot explain. And sometimes what it needs, our patience and giving them a safe ground. Sometimes people need a safe ground to fall. The example when you work in the school and I was working in the school,
Yeah.
sometimes we would have these in-service days. We have this, how you doing, Mary? We would have these, trust me, where you would be behind them and they would fall and you would catch them.
Yeah.
Sometimes y'all, people need, and especially when you deal with relationships, sometimes they need that soft place to land. Because they may not have had that growing up and stuff, and it may have made them put on a tough mask, not something that they own from the heart, but just a tough mask, something that just expressed to you that would keep other people away from it.
But in that, and even in that exercise, in order to have the soft place to land, you got to be willing to fall.
Absolutely.
And in order to be willing to do that free fall, you got to trust who you're going to be catching.
Absolutely.
So there got to be a relationship, a trust built.
Absolutely.
In order to be able to do that free fall.
Right. Now remember now, and before they did the exercise of the free fall, before they did, they talked about things. They talked about
they laid a platform.
They laid a platform. They talked about how. Matter of fact, it was just about teaching. What students expect. How we can get students to buy into the curriculum or into the behavior modification programs and stuff like that. So yes, we got to set the platform, as you would say. We got to set the platform. As I would say, set the platform, and they got to be willing to fall. But you also got to be willing to do what it takes to let them know that you're not going to drop them.
Yes.
And where in the midst of the fall, they seem to change their mind. Because sometimes, y'all, when you're reaching a spouse and you're trying to get them to understand that I'm not your enemy, I need you to communicate to me. My feelings are worth you listening to, as well as your feelings are worth me listening to. And I don't need you just to put them up on the shelf or just hang them away from your ears and your heart because you're not ready to listen to them. I need you to respond to them. And as it looks like they're listening, and then all of a sudden you see them make a turn, and it looks like they're not listening anymore. You don't just move your hands back and say, if you decide to fall, you're gonna fall on your face. You don't do that. You keep catching them, even when the fall seems to be rough. And sometimes when the fall catches you off balance because the weight of what you're dealing with seems heavier than you thought it was and stuff. You don't release, even if it means both of you hit the mat. And I don't mean to hurt each other, but if both of you hit the mat and you start praying, you start interceding, and you start dealing with each other so that you know that we're down here to fight up. We're not down here to fight down. We're down here to fight up, and we're going to recover from this. And that's going to take patience. It's going to take nobody can be a victim in this. Everybody has to be a willing warrior for one another and realize that listening and feeling the feelings of each other is worth the end result that's going to happen.
Okay. It's another question. Says, I know I missed the answer to my question about how do you forgive when your heart still remembers.
Oh gosh, I wrote that down. I sure did. I said it was a good question. I said we was going to get to that because I wrote that down. Thank you for reminding me and stuff. But we're going to roll around into that. But keep listening and stuff. And it may just jump up in a minute and stuff. But I want to roll that around into something because that is so important. And it came up one of the things that we talked about, and we may just roll into it now. Sometimes. When offenses happen in a relationship, people one may ask to forgive me, and the practice of the thing that offended them may have been something that's been recycling over and over and over again. And sometimes the recycling isn't so much due to neglect as it is in lack of strength, knowledge, or consideration, which still doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It still hurts. And so the person asks for forgiveness, and they want you to forgive them, and you really want to forgive them, and stuff. But it hurts deeper than the heart. You after a while, after some time, you can convince your heart that's okay to start to work towards trust. And before the first thing that will get to a place of starting to get to a wonderment, if I can trust this person, is the heart. And over some time, you can get the heart to a place where it starts to feel something again. It starts to feel some closeness. I'm not saying you fall in love, but you start to feel something that feels like it's safe enough to start to give them a piece, portions of my heart's attention.
I think too that it takes both of them working together.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one thing to say, I'm sorry, excuse me, I apologize. But what do you have connected to that? Do you have enough connected to it to make me want to forgive, make me want to, be healed from what you did and everything? Or do you just want to say those Band-Aid words to get past it, to say, okay, I did my part? What about the part that happened that offended me?
Right.
Are you going to help me to heal in that area? Are you going to step up and show me, because now it's to the point of, show me, you now my thought is, everybody may not agree with that. I have to forgive you. I have to come to a point of forgiving you because, I'm a Christian. That's what the Bible says. You have to, if they repent, forgive them. But it's going to come to a point of me measuring my trust. I want to come to the point where if I trusted you 100% before the violation, before you offended me, before the offense came, if I trusted you 100% before that happened, I want to be able to come back to a point of being healed enough to say I trust you 100% again. But there was a statement that was made one day. I think one day last week we were saying, was I saying?
Oh no.
Each time an offense happens, you get less and less of that person back. First offense happened, you may get 80% of them back. Another offense happened, you may only get 50% of them back. But we have to come to a point of learning how to secure them enough, make them feel safe enough to understand that you're not that person anymore, that you are really sorry, and that you absolutely understand what it made them feel like. Because sometimes I think when the offender does something, they don't take in consideration what they made that person feel like. They may feel bad about it, but it's like you don't know what you made them feel because you were the person they trust. You was the person that they had their hope in. And when you violate that trust, you hurt them to the core.
Only difference is, though, that is essential when it comes to winning the heart. That is essential when getting back to a place of winning the trust. But it's much different when winning the mind.
Right.
Because the mind has to exist whether the relationship goes on, no problem, bless you, whether the relationship goes on or not. So the key thing about how do you forgive, the heart's okay, and you're starting to trust, or you're starting to, how do I work on the mind? Because what the mind now wants to do is, the mind wants to call my heart a fool. The mind wants to feel like, and it wants to play in my mind and stuff. I remember years ago it was called instant replay and recall.
Yeah.
The mind wants to play back the offense.
Yes,
over and over again.
Keep it fresh.
Absolutely. So now what has to happen is you have to keep going where you feel the heart has been truthful to you about. Everything you picked up, they've given you the evidence, they've given you all the things you need to feel comfortable around them. You feel safe with them. You feel like what they told you. Yes, they're winning you here. Now you got to tell the mind by pulling down everything that exalts itself. Now, I mean, you understand the scripture it tells us, put everything exalts itself against the knowledge of God. We got to do that thing with everything. We pull down everything that tries to convince us against what we know is right. We know this person has proved, shown, and given evidence that they're turned around. Now I got to bring my Now I got to bring my mind to this. And one phrase that the Lord gave us on last week, and it's been blessing me. So many times we can get excited, spiritually excited. We can see things afar off, and our spirit gets excited. We get enthusiastic and stuff. We get in the midst of church, we get shouting and throwing down because we just feel what God's about to do. We feel something is being stirred up in the heavenlies, and we feel it in our spirit. But then when we go home, our mind says, you really feel nothing. They ain't going to happen for you. Or some other thing that tries to contradict. Trying to challenge, contradict, or bring a question to what you felt in your spirit. And one of the things the Lord said is that it's good. We should get excited. We should get enthusiastic about what we feel. But intercede for the soul, the will, mind, and emotions. Make sure you intercede for that to connect to what you know is truthful in the spirit. And when you want to be healed, when you've been offended, and you've been broken in a relationship, and they've shown you the evidence, and they've given you enough to win your heart back, or at least a portion of your heart back and stuff, and you're working, but your mind keeps fighting against you, intercede that your mind come in agreement, or at least be submissive to the process of accepting this person back as someone that you can trust. So you have to intercede. You have to keep talking to the mind and stuff, and keep pulling it down, and keep rebuking, instant replay, and recall, bringing the subjection to what you feel in your heart and mind. It's a warfare because it's not as easy to forgive here as it is here.
You have to think also too, and ask yourself the question: what reminds you of it?
Absolutely.
What is it that brings it back to your heart? What is it that reminds you of it? Is it real, or is it a fear that it's going to happen again? So once you realize what it is that reminds you, then that's where you do your place of attack. That's where you do your place of warfare. Because a lot of times what reminds you of it is a fear and a paranoia, or a fear that it may be happening again, or a fear of, maybe they haven't really changed. So you have to come to the point, okay, what's reminding me?
Absolutely.
If it's my fear and has no concrete evidence that it's happening or gonna happen, then I need to deal with the fear that's in me.
Absolutely.
If it's something that's happening, there's red flags that's going on, that there's possibilities that maybe happen again, then you and that other person need to sit down and talk about it.
Now listen, here's another thing too, and I saw that question down there. If it is family, if it is some other family member, and no matter how much you try to explain to them that you're hurting me, and that you're offending me, every time I come around you say these things that shoot like a dart, or you do things that offend me and stuff, and you're doing them, and you know what they do to me and stuff. It may not be where your mind is not forgiving. It may be where your mind is trying to bring you to a place of understanding that you can't pray, wish, hope, or feel them into change.
Exactly.
There are some family members that you don't have to accept what they pour into your life as they are, but you don't have to keep renting them places and spaces in your mind as if they've changed. If this is a pattern of behavior, it's not a position now of forgiving them here. It's a position of now, okay, I know this is how you are. And the more I expect anything from you, the more it keeps bombarding my mind and disappointing my heart. So I realize And this is sad though.
Measure
So I
up.
realize sometimes
And
that
measure
you are
up.
not going to change. You're going, every time you see me, for some reason, you think I'm a dartboard. You think I'm a punching bag and stuff. So I realize that, you know what, that you're not going to change. So here's my thoughts. You keep showing me who you are. Here's the mental part of it. You keep showing me who you are, I'm going to believe it.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe that's the way you are. So I'm not going to let you change because that's the way you are. I'm going to have to let you be, hey, I'm going to have to let you be who you are and stuff and go on with it.
Yeah.
Because the biggest, what you call anchor to emotional and spiritual growth can be family. Can be people around you that just can't seem to understand that I don't have to be your dartboard because we're blood, because I love you, because I care for you. I don't have to be your dartboard because I wasn't made a dartboard. I was made a weapon, and not to be used against you, but to be used against the enemy. But you're using me like I'm a dartboard as if I'm your enemy, and I can't not make you change, and I can't keep chasing you to change if that's the way you feel you want to be.
Because sometimes that can become self-inflicted. If
Absolutely.
you know that's how they are, and until God changes them, that's how they're going to stay, then you have to do what you have to do.
Absolutely.
I have come to a point of learning to measure my trust. I love everybody. I love people. But then it comes to a point where I have to measure my trust with certain people. You know, because why are you looking at me?
Nothing. What you think I'm thinking something, don't you?
What
Think I
you
was going to
think?
ask you a question, don't
What
you?
you ask me?
No, I ain't going to ask nothing. Okay.
No, but you do. You know, you love them all, but there are some people that can't handle, you know,
Right.
so much, be that much of a good steward of your emotions, so
Absolutely.
to speak. You know, and to give them that much of you and continue to see them damage you and continue to see them damage you, that can almost become self-inflicted. So you have to be able to love them enough and then show them how to love you. Show them how to, you know, what's susceptible to you. You know, I'm not gonna, every time I come around you gonna be down at me or doing what
And every time I
love
try
you.
to show you love,
I'm
you act like
good.
it's not worth anything. That's it. That's it. Some things you just look and say, no, I'm good.
I'm
I'm
good.
not gonna let that invest in me. I'm not gonna let that get to my mind. I'm gonna think the positive worth of myself, so that when you try to contradict it, I don't have to accept it or receive
Yes.
it. This is not a thinking process when it comes to people that have already shown you what they are and they're not going to change. That's not a thinking process. The process is now is, okay, how can I pour my mental investment out of something that someone is dragging me into, knowing that they're not going to change, all because I love them enough to want them to change.
Yeah,
That means this, they've got to invest in their change too.
They got to invest in their change.
Absolutely.
And you have to make sure that they don't change you. You know,
Absolutely.
in you trying to change them, whether they change or not, just make sure that they don't change you from who God has ordained
Absolutely.
for you to be.
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes, Mary, I know you're a fixer. I know you are. I know you're a fixer. I said this before. You try to be there for everybody. You try to make everything right, even when those who you're trying to make right for don't want to be right. There's sometimes you have to say to yourself, wait a minute. If this relationship is ever going to be beneficial, both of us have to carry some weight and responsibility for who we are. And that is, we do as much as we can do to help those, and that's the key, who help themselves. You know, Jesus said, if any man will, let him come. So he wants us to make a step, and he certainly is already there, had made the steps. And we can't be, and this, I don't mean no, we can't be Jesus for people. I mean, you can't go to the cross for people anymore.
No.
You know,
He's already died
He's
and
already
resurrected.
died it for. So you can't keep dying for them, so to speak, or dying for family members, dying for people and stuff. And they don't understand this bloodshed is killing me. This bloodshed is not doing any benefit for you. This bloodshed is killing me. So the first thing is, and this is the key thing: one, I love you with my heart, but I'm not gonna let you rent my mind. I love you because I've seen and my wisdom has shown me this is the way you're gonna be. You're not gonna change. You like seeing me bleed. You like seeing me broken. You like seeing me come in happy and leave out crying. You like seeing me beg you for love. You like seeing me beg you to show me that you appreciate. You like seeing me do that. So what I'm gonna realize is this: if this makes you more evil or this makes you more aggressive, I'm gonna take that from you. This might make you change, because when you realize that the dartboard has moved, and I'm no longer a practice board for you, like when you go to the, I'm no longer that practice thing for you no more. This might make you change. But what I believe, what may actually enable some people who are just mean to people is that they see the results of their meanness. When you snatch that away from them, then that may actually make some of them change.
There's another question. Said, how do you do that when you share the space, share the same space?
And that you know what? There's no clear answer, because that makes it even more difficult and stuff, because they have all access to
You can't leave.
You can't leave and stuff. But you know, again, sometimes again, like the same process we use, we can't stop talking. We keep praying. Yes, we keep praying, but we can't stop talking. Somebody has to know how you make me feel.
Exactly.
Now, at first, they mean, well, that's not how I mean it. Well, when we're talking about a relationship, when we're talking about family, when we're talking about love, what you didn't mean and what I perceive should mean just as much to you. If you defend with all aggressiveness and all all whatever that you didn't mean it that way, then you have to also understand with the same aggression, that's how you made me feel. And so if both of them are the opposites, somebody has to look at what's going on. And that's what we have to keep presenting. You may not mean this. You may not mean it the way it is. You may not mean the way you're giving it to me. But I need you to be just as perceptive in how you're making me feel. Okay, amen. All right, huh? What's this?
How do you distance yourself when you share? I tried, but it's all in my face. Try to distance yourself, but you try, but it's all in her face everywhere.
It's very difficult, and sometimes it becomes a place of contention when you try to deal with it. But it doesn't mean you don't deal with it.
No.
It doesn't mean you don't face it. Family has to know. People have to know that you're connected with. Spouses have to know. Family have to know. Everybody have to know and stuff, and be made known. This is how you're making me feel. This is how you present. And can I be honest with you? In some cases, in all actuality, some may not change. Some may think
but
it's
don't
all.
Let it or them change you.
Absolutely. Rebuke the spirit of gaslighting.
Yes.
Gaslighting is this. People make you think that it's you and you're going crazy.
And
that you're not seeing. Nope. They're not seeing what you're seeing. You're not what you're feeling comes from your own mind. I'm not doing what you say I'm doing. I'm not acting the way you say I'm acting and stuff. You rebuke that spirit of gaslighting and stuff, and you keep presenting, not in an argument, but you keep presenting and stuff. And listen, this is what you're doing to me. This is how you're making me feel. This is what you're presenting to me and stuff. And you keep doing it. And then guess what? And next thing is, Lord, I ask that you open up a door so I can change my surroundings.
Yes. Change my
surroundings. Bottom line, I want to change my surroundings. And I'm not saying this is not presenting so much with married couples. You got to go get some counseling.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with a situation where if you're sharing some space with a family member, Lord, I'm asking you to change my surroundings. But sometimes what happens to some people, sometimes some of us out there, that no problem, man, we love you. Listen, sometimes what happens is that sometimes we got to understand that if you move and change your space, don't open that door for that same problem to come back in. When you go and God opens an opportunity for you to make your areas clean, so forth, get a space where you're in it, and God can dictate His atmosphere in your life. Don't let them come back in.
And sometimes, all the time, you got to come to a point of warfare against that thing.
Absolutely.
Especially when you realize that you're dealing with a spirit. You can't win. You can't reason with the spirit. You can't.
Absolutely.
But you can win. But you can't reason with an evil spirit. And some people just have a demon spirit in them of arguing.
Absolutely.
And they can make an argument out of nothing.
Nothing.
Something that's just plain petty, they can make an argument out of it. And it's just not right. And sometimes we spend so much time and our feelings and our emotions trying to reason with a demon.
Absolutely.
When in actuality, the only thing you need to do is bind it up in Jesus' name and then begin to tell it what it's going to do to you and what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept.
Amen.
I'm not going to have you arguing with me.
Amen.
I'm not going to have you put me down. I'm not going to have every time my foot step in the house or every time my foot step on the job, here you are. I'll bind you up in Jesus' name before I even get there. You're not going to have that control today. You're
So
not going
true.
to mess up my atmosphere. I go in here in the name of Jesus and I control this atmosphere.
Start the warfare before you get
Even
there.
before you get there.
Before you get there, don't go in and start warfare.
Yes.
Start the warfare
Yes.
before you
Start
get
it
there.
before you get there.
Amen.
Especially when you know the spirit that you're going to face when you get there.
Amen. Amen. All right. Okay, Pastor Flowers, that's hopefully we answer some questions. But listen, if you come around and there's another question on that subject, we'll just go back to it. But what we're going to deal with now is one of the subjects that, and we may not get to it, I don't know, we may just start it and end up right back to the same subject. But your questions are no problem. Whatever question you have that may come up in dealing with the subject, just please put it up there and we see it, we'll get right to it. But one of the things, when we first started out, we were asked to be on a program. And the question was asked about the 5 love languages, and that's how we kind of got here. And one of the things why we are against the subject of love language, or I don't mean God, I shouldn't
not against it,
not
but,
against it,
but as people just to be discerning,
right? Or
because
I guess the thing I'm saying is the language has changed, and if you
well,
just
I look at it like this here. Everybody don't speak Spanish. If I'm English speaking, I may not understand the Spanish speaking. If you're Spanish speaking, you may not understand my English speaking. So we got to come to somewhere where we're able to interpret and to discern what one another's saying.
Absolutely.
So not all love languages mean the same to everybody. I give this here example. Now, let's say John was dating Mary, and then something happened, they broke up, and so John started dating Ella Mae. Then all of a sudden he wants to treat Ella Mae the same way that he treated Mary, or want to respond to Ella Mae with the same language that he treated with, Mary.
well,
Ella Mae is not going to accept that.
but the problem is they broke up, so that love language must not been that good. So, but
you understand what I'm
yeah,
saying?
I do. But
you got to be discerning
Right.
and
but the thing is,
unique, so to speak.
the outline that sometimes love language puts out, if you do them without a good foundation, it's not going to work, and it may cause more irritation. We're going to talk about that. We probably won't get to it on this program, but we're going to outline some of the 5 general love languages that we feel that without this first platform, those are not going to work. And one of the things that we like is, and I think this applies, we can generalize this, and this is the language of consideration. Whatever you do, whatever level of relationship it is, whoever you go in a relationship with, whatever relationship between friends, families, relationships between those who are dating and maybe moving towards marriage, those who are married and want to move to a stronger bond in their marriage, when you have the language of consideration, that is blanketed. That will help every marriage because everything else can fit into it. Everything, whatever you do, everything else that you want to do in that marriage, as long as there's a language of consideration, it brings everybody closer together. Yeah. It brings trust. It places an atmosphere. We're working at this and we're working at it on the same page and stuff, and we can be successful. So that's the kind of language we want to throw at you. If you want to take anything from what we would generalize as what we mean to get across tonight is, and that and a teaching is, that's the language of consideration.
Yes.
If we do that, I guarantee you we can be blessed in our relationships. All right.
Okay, it says here, language of consideration. Successful couples start with a healthy sense of what is important on the part of each other. True love is about putting and making the needs of the other just as important as your own needs.
Now that's a key point. Good, healthy relationships have a platform of consideration. They think about what your needs are just important as my needs, and and whatever you need and we need together to make this thing happen, we're going to put as much time on both sides as we put on the other.
Yeah.
It's imbalanced. It's unprofitable to the relationship if all the attention is put on my dysfunction
and it's selfish.
My needs. Yes. Yes. All right, honey.
Okay, I put it here. Believe it or not, there are couples who do not wish each other well. Sad to say, but it's true. Do not wish each other well. As a matter of fact, there are some who get upset, even begin to pout when the other has some great success in life. It is bad when you're in a relationship with somebody and they can't rejoice with you with your good things. Mm-hmm. They can at best try to be happy, but so you can't say that those type of people are putting your successes or putting your needs at the same place that there are, that they do with their own.
Absolutely.
Because when they have a success, they want the world to rejoice with them.
Mm-hmm.
When something good is happening to them, they want the world to rejoice with them. But you find those that when something good is happening with their spouse, they're not happy. Mm. We have said and we have watched it when one spouse was going through and the other spouse just as happy as can be. It didn't move them at all. You know?
And that's what the language of consideration is pointed out. Somebody seems to lose in the transition that somebody's doing something well because sometimes their dysfunction is so blinded to them, mm-hmm. they don't realize that the spouse is trying to move on. Mm-hmm. And whatever successes we have in our life, we share with one another.
Yes.
And we share in
and as
much as we share in our dysfunctions, mm-hmm. we share in our successes, and both should be just as much a cheerleader to the other and stuff, because it's hard when I find that you're not a cheerleader and stuff, and you want me to be a booster when you're going through.
One of the biggest things that we have seen is when one make more, mainly the wife, when the wife makes more money.
You make more money?
I used to. When the wife makes more money than the husband and or is constantly getting raises or promotions and things, and he can't be happy with her.
Mm-hmm. I don't care who makes more money.
I know.
I don't care. As long as I get me a cupcake.
But it is true. We have seen this here happen, and it's like they take it as an offense to their manhood.
Yeah.
Take it as, well, she's going to try to control the home or whatever. But, it's house money.
People don't, I think, and again, this goes right back to our language of consideration. I think so many times, leading up to where this may develop, is that people don't get to know each other from the heart.
Yes, absolutely.
When you don't know each other from the heart, and there's no real bond there of intimacy and stuff. When one makes more money than the other, because you don't know them, you may think this may change them. And reality,
And vice versa,
yes.
husband and wife.
Yeah,
I was just saying that.
in reality, the money hasn't changed them. Your perspective, based on what you perceive or assume, has caused you to look at them differently. They haven't changed. The money doesn't get to them, but the money's gotten to you. And because we haven't taken a chance sometimes as spouses to get to know each other in the process where God starts to do some things in each other's life. He does it for both of us, not for one. He doesn't give the wife or the husband more money, and then the one he ordains or gives one power to lord that over them. Mm-hmm. That's, as you were saying, that's house money. And sometimes we miss that because we don't have the intimacy of knowing each other in the process of getting to what God is actually blessing our house. So now that becomes a threat. Success becomes a threat to the other because the other just knows them by the money and not know them by the heart.
And it's also a threat to the one that's making the money to lord it over that person who they're making more money than. Well, I'm the one who and feel like, okay, I'm greater because I make the most money, whereas it shouldn't be that way.
Right. Well, as we were saying, we was talking about those that sometimes feel themselves at a disadvantage because the other seems to be making more money, and it's more sometimes we find, I guess, experience more where people, where the enemy uses the handicapped relationship because someone can't handle that someone else is being blessed.
Yeah.
And don't understand that it's not someone else is being blessed. We are being blessed.
We are being blessed.
This is coming to us.
Exactly.
Okay.
Our dynamics is changing. Some say that love is putting the needs of the other before your own. I believe it is effective when we put it as just as important as our own. Whereas each spouse work just as hard supplying for the other's needs as you do for your own.
Now remember, when we read it at the beginning, the first paragraph says that successful relationships is where we have a healthy recognition or observation. I'm just adding some more words to the needs of the other person, just as much as we have our own. And some would say, that as I was, I'm trying to remember.
Some say that love is putting the needs of the other before your own.
Right.
But okay.
But some would say that. I just don't believe that. I believe that what makes it beneficial is, I'm talking about in relationships and marriages, when you put them together.
Yeah.
When they're when they're equally as
both
important.
equally important.
And so when we do that, we work hard to make sure everybody's
Everybody.
happy at some
I'm working on my goals as hard as doing what I need to do for your goals.
Amen. All right. Mary said, as long as the green comes, and that's it.
When you do this, both will arrive at the desired results, being emotionally on the same level and experience that testifies that the relationship is going forward and not having to reach back to the place of dysfunction and emotional disorder at a place where the other was dropped.
I like this. We talked about this a little bit as we was getting ready for the program and stuff. And one of the things that we wanted to emphasize was, as long as we're working together and we have this equal concern for each other. Now, I'm not putting because I always believe this, and we've always talked about this. I believe in collaboration.
Yes.
And when you have collaboration, everybody's putting into it. Nobody's getting.
Everybody's getting what they need out of it.
Right. Everybody's getting what they need out of it. And we used this illustration one time when we first talked about it, about the orange. How a kid brought home an orange. It was an orange at the house. They had both made homework, and both of them needed to do something with the orange. The little girl needed to find out how much.
For that one orange.
For that one orange. How much orange juice can be gotten after squeezing the orange. The little boy had to find out the circumference of the orange. But they got arguing over it and stuff, and they got arguing over the stuff. And the little girl wanted the orange first so she could squeeze it out. So she got the orange first and squeezed the orange out. He couldn't get an accurate measurement of what the orange was. If he had cut the whatever he did with the orange and stuff, mess around it first, then she probably felt it was too much time taken. So she wanted the orange first so she can go get the bed, get it done, and go to bed. Well, the collaboration was let him measure the orange still intact. Then she can cut the orange up, squeeze it and stuff, and get as much orange out of it. And guess what? They both can drink the orange juice and eat the orange, and both can get something from it. That's collaboration.
That's
When
collaboration.
at the end of what's done, both can feed off of what's done.
They got their homework done.
Absolutely. But when it's just sacrifice, most people say, or compromise. When you start compromising stuff, there's going to be something that's needed at the time of the sacrifice that you no longer can't get after that sacrifice. And so when you collaborate, you always can get the best out of both of them.
I like collaboration.
I do too.
Because sacrificing means I might miss out on something.
Absolutely.
And if I have to,
Right. But
I'd rather collaborate.
Right. One illustration we used years ago was sometimes some homes are made off the reward system. I get paid 1 week, and both get paid 1 week, and I need a pair of sneakers and stuff, and so we got it. We got our bills is not that big. We got it that week and everything, and so I go get a pair of sneakers, and then you said, well, that next week I want me a pair of sneakers too. Well, next week we didn't even think about it. And didn't know some things came up, and emergency came up, and the bills were a little bit heavier, so we didn't have enough for her to get her sneakers. But she says, and it could be vice versa. I'm just saying. She said, "You got sneakers, Dickie, so I want some sneakers too." So now it says, "Let's compromise. Let's not pay a bill. Let's just get your sneakers and let's not pay a bill." So we compromise our budget. And we come around to next week, which would be the easier week for it to be done. Now that week becomes heavier, and then we roll into the heavy week. And before we find it, we find ourselves fighting up when it was a smooth process, when it was collaboration and not compromise, and this unbalanced sacrifice. Yeah. So if we want to make sure, we're doing right, what's good for the relationship, then do collaboration and not compromise.
I like collaboration.
Yes. All right, hon.
Okay.
Few more minutes.
Now that doesn't mean there's no sacrifice.
Absolutely.
You sacrifice the tendency to compare your needs, which creates emotional competition and possible selfishness. However, it means simple consideration and collaboration.
Absolutely.
When consideration, collaboration is in play, it is the respect and trust that supports a strong connection.
Absolutely. Now, I want to, because we said that kind of quickly. I'm not saying there is no sacrifice, but the sacrifice is not on the part of the things that makes everything run smoothly. The sacrifice is on the part of our tendency to be competitive, our tendency to want to compare needs, our tendency give up that desire to say, well, look, you said we got this last time, so, or whatever it may be, that will cause
arguing the greater need,
right? Or that will cause a compromise on what you have running smoothly. Okay.
Okay, 1 Corinthians 10:33 in the Message Bible says, I try my best to be considerate of everyone's feelings in all these matters, and I hope you will too.
Paul encouraged the Corinthian church. There were some things he was dealing with and stuff. He was considerate of all the opinions that was coming in and stuff so that they can come to a solution that everybody can live with.
Yes.
Okay.
James 3:17 in the Amplified says, but the wisdom from above is first of all pure, undefiled, then it is peace-loving, courteous, considerate, gentle. It is willing to yield to reason. Oh my God, that's a plus right there. Oh my God. One of the hardest things to do is to deal with somebody that's unreasonable. You can bring them all the facts in the world, but there's selfishness and they're got to be right. You cannot reason with them.
Absolutely. And that makes consideration easy.
Yeah.
When you're able to listen to reasoning, you can put the facts in front of them, or the facts are presented to them. It's easy to consider that now when you're open to consider what the other person is dealing with.
When a person is unreasonable and you continue try to bring them around, bring them on the same page with you, you will wear yourself out.
Absolutely.
Because many times they have shut down because it's their way or the highway.
Absolutely. Can we slide down a little bit, hon? Because we got a couple more minutes, and I'm gonna slide down. We're gonna slide down, hit that where it says the blue, and then we're gonna work our way down.
Okay. Relationships is more than just giving off a message. Healthy relationships practice clarity with honest and open verbal engaging with each other.
Now listen, there's times that we're gonna talk, and there's times you're gonna talk with your spouse. Now, when you go into a conversation, these are key things we have to understand. Or when we go into a conversation with anybody, consider that you're not talking to yourself.
Exactly.
There are some things you thought about.
And there's going to be some feedback.
Absolutely.
It's not a one-way side conversation,
Nope.
a one-side conversation.
There are some things that you thought about going into the conversation. There's some things you want to present to them. But you also got to think about why you're going in and going right to the same thing you were saying. When you're going into a conversation with someone, you also got to consider there's some things you're going to have to listen to.
Yeah.
So you're going to go in understanding that you're going to give them enough information so there can be clear dialogue.
Exactly.
We can have information enough so that when we leave this conversation, we have enough to go to the next.
Yes. And
The
be able
pro-
to process what you
Absolutely.
need to process and then move on.
Absolutely. The problem sometimes is we go into conversations. We talked about a lot of things to ourselves, and when we get into the conversation, it's almost like we forget that there's things that you thought and you talked to yourself, you didn't talk to them about.
Exactly.
So you start going into half sentences,
That's it.
or you start giving partial
waiting for
things,
them to catch up.
waiting for them to catch up, or at least respond. And when they don't respond, you're asking them, "Why aren't you talking?"
Why are you stuck?
And
You're
then they
stuck
say,
right there.
"Because I don't know what you're talking about."
You didn't bring
Why?
it up.
And then they answer, "I talked to you about it." No,
You
you
talk
talked to
at
yourself.
me.
No, you talked to yourself about it. You had that conversation before you came, and then you seem to think that because you're in a heated conversation trying to bring it across to me, that somehow you gave me all the information that you gave to yourself, and you didn't.
No.
So when you're getting ready to come into a conversation and you're dealing with something with a person that you can build a relationship with, or trying to help your marriage to get stronger, realize that the same conversation that you had in your mind, you have to have with them.
Have to have with them. And then be ready for a feedback.
Absolutely.
And don't just sit down and say, well, I said it this way and that's it. Be ready to take in consideration their feelings about it.
Absolutely.
Being reasonable.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay. Health relationships, be honest, open verbal engagement with each other. Be sensitive to the needs of your spouse, the needs of the relationship, and your own needs that make you a healthy partner to your spouse in the relationship.
Absolutely. Let me interject this. This is the question. How do you do this when
They don't hear.
When they don't hear? They hear, but it just may not act on their
Sound
hearing.
out, yeah.
And that's the thing. Sometimes we need to, when we're dealing with people. Sometimes it doesn't seem like they're giving the responses that you don't ever think that they don't hear. The only way they don't hear, and I'm talking in general now, only way they don't hear if they have a hearing problem. If there's a hearing problem that may be something else, then you got to deal with it from that point of view. But the thing is, they do hear. But the problem is now, how do we work to get them to respond to what they're hearing? How do we get to a place to come on board with what we're saying? Go ahead.
Sometimes, that after they hear, they need time to process it.
Right.
Understand whether they're just ignoring you or
Process.
they're taking time to process what you just said.
Absolutely.
If it's where they're taking time to process what you just said, it's okay to just say what you need to say. Don't argue your point. Say what you need to say and keep it moving.
Absolutely.
Later on, they may come back to you and say, that thing you was talking about, such and such and such and such and such. They're ready to answer it because you respected their right to be able to take the time they need to process what you're saying. But if you want to answer right then, almost like a taskmaster, answer me. You might not like the answer you get.
Absolutely.
So give them a chance to process it if that's why they're not answering.
I like the point that you point out here because sometimes we have to be look, when you're dealing with people sometimes that you have to bring up to or something. I'm not saying something wrong, but sometimes you have to bring something up because there's sometimes
it's like think about it.
Yes, you have to look and find out are you ignoring me or are you just processing? And sometimes it takes with a question. I need to when you're talking to them and you're asking them, you're presenting something to them. So it's not hard just to lean up to them. Do you understand what I'm saying? And let me look and say, yeah, I understand what you're saying and stuff. And if it looks like they're getting kind of aggravated, they may not be blocking you out. They may actually be trying to process what you're saying and stuff. And sometimes if we're just patient and stuff, let that moment go by and then come back and say, what I was saying, even if I was saying I needed to understand, because I didn't want to make you upset. I need to understand. I need to find out if you understood where I was coming from because I don't, and we may not even want to use the word coming from because sometimes that sounds a little aggressive. Sometimes we may say, I just need you to understand what I was trying to talk to you about. I wasn't trying to be smart. I wasn't trying to boss you, but I just need to know, did you understand what I'm talking about? And after they process it, after they got past the moment where they may be angry, they're now willing to have a dialogue with you about what you were saying and how they felt and you know what they got from it, and now you can start the process on.
Or else they could be not answering because they know if they answer right now, they're gonna come off with the wrong attitude.
Right.
Give them that room and that space to be able to handle themselves. Because there are some people that need to handle themselves.
Absolutely.
I need to take control of myself, because if I answer my spouse right now, I know I'm going to come off in the wrong way. So just let me take a minute, process what I need to process, so when I present it to him or her, that it'll come out in the right way, and we both can still remain whole.
Absolutely. Listen, y'all, our time is up. It went by really fast and stuff. But the only problem is I have a family.
Not
My
spouse.
spouse. My spouse is a kid. Yeah, but you know sometimes family is the most challenging thing. But the problem is this: sometimes you have on the solution. Sometimes is just understand that family sometimes won't let you go. They don't know that I'm no longer just using marriage as an example. Sometimes they don't want to let go that this is not just Mary anymore. This is Mary who's grown.
Exactly.
This is Mary who's forged a life and stuff. Who has a life of her own and stuff. Not separate but distinct. You know, we're still connected, but it's I'm not that Mary that was in the backyard, or the Mary that you could holler at as your sister, or the Mary you could holler at as your daughter, that Mary you could holler at as your cousin. I'm Mary grown now, and I want respect. And sometimes they're the toughest one, but as much as it is tough, we have to be persistent in drawing lines and stuff. And drawing lines sometimes will take just that persistence to let them know this is what I expect, and this is what I want from you. Listen. We want to also encourage you to go. How you doing, Shaquille? Want to encourage you to go by our what is it? Amazon.com and
check out our books.
Check out some of our books and just be a blessing. We believe that they'll be a blessing to you.
Once we have to go and put in our names, and our books will pop up, and we, want you to just consider purchasing the books and just let them bless you.
Amen. Amen. Listen, if you want to see this quickly. On tomorrow night, we're having a evangelistic service, breakthrough service at our church in Laurel. If you don't have a service or you don't have anything planned, come on by and see us and stuff. And God will bless you, I believe. And on Sunday afternoon,
Sunday evening, we have Apostle Helena Bailey. She's going to be with us at 4:00, and as you know, it's going to be an awesome time.
Amen.
She's going to bring a mighty word. So if you're not doing anything on Sunday evening at 4:00. Do consider coming by and be a part of that service.
Amen. We want to thank God for you. I don't think there's any other announcements that we want to know. So okay, well listen, our next broadcast is the 25th of this month. So we'll be back on. Please let someone know and stuff. So we're located in Laurel. We're off of 13 South. It's called Laurel Plaza Road. We're in the blue building. Across from the
Dollar General and the Walgreens,
Walgreens
right on the highway.
Right on the highway.
On the highway, it's the blue building, but you have to go down, do the U-turn, or depends on which way you come. After you pass the liquor store, there's the first.
Why you say liquor store?
Because that's what you passed.
No, why you say
it's the first
store?
Right there.
No, why you had to say liquor store?
See, there you go. Lord have mercy, y'all pray for me.
But after you pass the liquor store, but. Matter of fact, I can see this. That's one of our beginning services of our birthday celebration for this month. So come on by and be a blessing, and we believe God's going to do some awesome things. So again, listen, thank you. Again, that's we're off of 13 North in Laurel. It's called Laurel Plaza Road, and we're in the blue building, across from Walgreens and the Dollar General. Amen. So listen, God bless you. Please share this. If this has been a blessing to you, please share it. And stuff. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can drop us a line at either our inbox here on Facebook, or you can drop us a line at our email, apostleflowers 51
at gmail.com. Yes.
Yeah, Gmail, apostle51 at gmail.com, or rootflowers07 at gmail.com. Amen. Listen, God bless you. And again, please share this if this has been a blessing to you and stuff. And keep us in the prayers. We hope to see you again. On our next broadcast.
Thank everybody for tuning in.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And thank you for your questions. Yes, I like that. Keep those questions. Even after it's going on, if it's a question that you have, write it down in our next broadcast. Please bring it up. God bless you. Love you.